There's a version of your life that only exists under one condition. You feel ready, ready to start, ready to commit, ready to endure what comes after you stop hesitating. And until that feeling arrives, everything stays in a strange kind of suspension. Not broken, not progressing, just pending. You tell yourself it's responsible, that you're being patient, that you're preparing, that you're waiting for the right moment to move without wasting effort. I used to believe that. Not as an idea, as a strategy. It felt intelligent, measured, controlled, and it kept me in the same place longer than I want to admit. Marcus lived like that. He wasn't lazy. That's what made it harder to detect. He woke up early. He trained. He read. He listened to podcasts at 1.5x speed like he was trying to compress time itself. From the outside, it looked like momentum. From the inside, nothing irreversible was happening. That's the key difference. Preparation doesn't cost you your current life. Execution does. And Marcus was always preparing. He had a business idea he talked about like it was already real. He knew the audience, the positioning, the product structure. He even had a name. What he didn't have was anything published. No risk taken. No exposure. Because every time he got close, the same thought would appear. Not loud, not dramatic, just precise enough to stop him. I'm not ready yet. And that sentence is dangerous. Not because it's always false, but because it's rarely questioned. Before de continuar, tudo que você está aprendendo aqui só funciona se você executar. E executar é exatamente onde a maioria para. Criei um sistema chamado Untamed Mind Protocol. 3 ferramentas que trabalham juntas. Um e-book que explica o porquê, um painel interativo que organiza o seu dia e um áudio de reprogramação que age onde o conhecimento não chega. Link na descrição. Agora, voltando ao conteúdo. If you wait for readiness, you create a moving target. Because readiness isn't a fixed state. It expands. You learn something new. Now you need to integrate it. You improve one skill. Now another feels insufficient. You get closer, and the standard moves further away. It feels like progress, but it behaves like delay. Marcus wasn't stuck at the beginning. He was stuck right before the beginning. That invisible line where things stop being theoretical, where actions start producing consequences you can't fully control. That's where not ready shows up most often. Not at zero, at the edge. There's something I noticed in myself long before I saw it clearly in him. The feeling of unreadiness isn't about capacity. It's about exposure. Because starting reveals something you've been able to hide while preparing. Your actual level. Not your potential. Not your intention. Your current reality. And reality has a weight to it. You can't negotiate with it. You can only respond to it. Marcus had built an identity around being almost there. Close enough to feel capable. Far enough to avoid judgment. And that identity is comfortable in a very specific way. It protects your self-image. As long as you haven't started, nothing can contradict what you believe you could become. But there's a cost. You start living in anticipation instead of participation. Everything becomes soon. And soon is a place you can stay in for years. I've stayed there longer than I expected, convincing myself that I was sharpening the blade while never actually using it. And here's the part that shifts everything, but doesn't feel good when it happens. You realize that readiness is not something you reach. It's something you abandon. Marcus didn't have a breakthrough. No sudden clarity, no surge of confidence. What he had was a moment of fatigue. Not physical. Mental. He got tired of evaluating himself, tired of measuring, comparing, adjusting, optimizing, without ever stepping into something real. He told me something once that stayed with me. I think I've been trying to feel ready, so I don't have to feel exposed. That's honest in a way most people avoid. Because once you say that, the strategy stops working. You can't pretend it's about preparation anymore. Now it's about avoidance. And avoidance, when seen clearly, becomes harder to justify, but not easier to stop. That's important. Clarity doesn't remove resistance. It removes illusion. And without illusion, every delay becomes a conscious choice. Marcus didn't wake up the next day transformed. He still felt the hesitation, still noticed the same internal voice trying to slow things down. But something had shifted. He stopped negotiating with that voice. Not completely, just enough. He launched something small, not the full idea, not the perfect version, something incomplete. And it felt wrong, unpolished, exposed, premature. Exactly the things he had been trying to avoid. And nothing catastrophic happened. No collapse, no humiliation, just feedback. Silence from some people, interest from others. Reality. And reality did something preparation never could. It gave him something concrete to respond to. Now his actions weren't based on speculation. They were based on interaction. That's a different loop. Less comfortable, more effective. I've had to learn this in ways I didn't expect. You don't build confidence before action. You build it after surviving your own expectations, after realizing that the thing you feared most isn't as precise in real life as it is in your head. But there's a detail most people miss. You don't suddenly feel ready after you start. You just become someone who acts despite not feeling ready. And that identity is built through repetition, not intention. So the question shifts. Not how do I get ready, but how long am I willing to wait for a feeling that keeps moving? Because if you're honest, you've already delayed things you knew mattered. Not because you didn't know what to do, but because you didn't like how it would feel to begin. And that feeling, it doesn't disappear. You just stop treating it as a requirement. Marcus still feels it. That moment before starting something new, that slight contraction, that internal pause. The difference now is simple. He doesn't interpret it as a signal to stop, just a signal that he's close to something real. And if you pay attention, you know exactly where that is in your life. That place where you keep saying almost, where things are defined but not done, where clarity exists but action doesn't follow. It's not random, it's specific. And the longer you wait for readiness, the more natural waiting becomes, until it feels like your personality. But it's not. It's a pattern, and patterns can be interrupted, not by feeling better, by acting once, without permission from your own hesitation. Not perfectly, not confidently, but decisively. Because at some point, the cost of waiting becomes heavier than the discomfort of starting. And when that moment comes, you won't feel ready. You'll just feel done with delaying. That's enough. Você chegou até aqui, isso já diz muita coisa sobre você. A maioria das pessoas abre um vídeo sobre disciplina e fecha na metade. Você ficou, você ouviu, você está procurando algo real. Então, eu quero te mostrar algo que criei especificamente para quem está nesse ponto, que sabe o que quer, mas ainda sente que o dia termina sem que as coisas mais importantes tenham sido feitas. É o Untamed Mind Protocol, 3 ferramentas em um sistema só. O e-book te explica por que sua mente sabota antes mesmo de você perceber e o que fazer de diferente. O painel de performance abre direto no seu navegador, sem app, sem login. Você define sua intenção, suas 3 prioridades, usa o timer de foco, marca os hábitos, faz a reflexão noturna. Tudo em um lugar, funcionando offline. O áudio de reprogramação tem 20 minutos. Ouça de manhã ou antes de dormir. Age no subconsciente, onde os hábitos reais vivem. Link na descrição. Se você assistiu até aqui, esse protocolo é para você. And if something in this felt uncomfortably familiar, there's a place where people are no longer waiting to feel ready before acting. They're just starting. Untamed Mind.